Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third and final day of the Niagara Leadership Summit for Women 2021. I hope you have been enjoying the summit so far, and thank you for attending our session this morning. My name is Jenny Devrocky, and I am a Niagara Leadership Summit for Women Planning Committee member. I lead with courage by believing in myself. I know who I am, what I'm worth, and what I'm capable of, which makes me confident to take on any challenges that may come my way. We begin this seminar by acknowledging the land on which we live and work is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous people. The Ywca Niagara region is a local organization that stands for gender equality and gives a voice to those who are marginalized in our community. The YW offers emergency shelter and 3 stages of transitional housing to homeless women, men, and families to help its clients step by step break the cycle of homelessness and poverty for good. Now more than ever, this work is critical for the wellness of our community. Learn more about the YW and how you can support this work at ywca-niagararegion.ca. We want to take this opportunity to remind everyone that our Niagara Leadership Summit for Women virtual event is designed to facilitate a safe and open space for all participants. By participating in this session, you are agreeing to follow our community guidelines. You can find the guidelines on the left-hand side menu under the Important Documents tab. We are all responsible for making an inclusive environment and we appreciate your support in doing so. Our session this morning is called Loving Leadership. During this session, Julie is going to discuss how loving leadership will result in healthier teams, better work-life balance for all, and will engender loyalty, passion, and commitment for those you lead. Julie Christensen is an award-winning international public speaker, author, and psychotherapist. Julie developed the anger solutions method of anger resolution and has authored several books about anger, stress, bullying, and leadership. She has a deep love for the written word and is passionate about helping to leverage people into radical, positive, lasting change through her work. Known as the Anger Lady, she has appeared as an expert for various print, radio, and television media outlets. She has also consulted with various producers, providing insight into their program content, including The Anderson Cooper Show, The Hunted, and Investigations Discovery. Julie is a 2-time nominee finalist for the YWCA Woman of Distinction Awards. She was the recipient of Niagara's 40 Under 40 Award, and in 2015 received the Toastmasters Communication and Leadership Award. Her work in anger solutions, coupled with her work in academia, landed her on the list of the 40 most influential forensic psychologists. Julie has been married to her soulmate, Stephen, for more than 30 years. They reside in the Niagara region of Ontario, Canada, with 2 of their 3 children and their toy poodle, Forrest Gump. If you have any questions for our speaker during the seminar, please post them in the question and answer tab, or you can send them to me privately. Don't forget to share your experience in learning today on social media and tag us and our fantastic speaker. Let's begin. I'll pass it off to Julie.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be a part of the Leadership Summit for Women for 2021. It's my pleasure to chat with you all today. And I'm going to be talking about this notion called loving leadership. And so I'm going to pull up my slides for you and we'll get started. So the first thing we want to say is what is this all about? What's the agenda? So I'm going to walk you through the roadmap to what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to start by using the analogy of whitewater rafting to address a condition called future shock. And the idea of future shock has been around for a long time, but I'm going to bring it to bear on what we're going to talk about today. And we'll look at whitewater rafting as a model or an analogy for how to apply loving leadership. I'll introduce to you the loving leadership model. I'll give you a very sort of broad brushstrokes of how it works. And then we'll look at some actual strategies that you can apply immediately to help you develop more resilient, more loyal, more committed, more passionate teams. And so this idea of loving leadership is an enlightened way, if you will, to help deepen loyalty and enhance morale within our teams. And it's all about high performance, right? And a lot of times we think high performance will only be motivated by money or some sort of material incentive or perhaps punitive incentives, you know, the carrot or the stick or both. But we want to look at a different way of approaching leadership. We want to examine the challenges of future shock and the reward of shifting into a loving leadership approach. And then, like I said, I want to provide you with some tools. So very briefly, what is future shock? Future shock is a term that was coined by author Alvin Toffler and his spouse. I want to give his spouse, Adelaide Farrell, credit because she helped. And so she and Alvin came together and coined this term called future shock, which is defined as a personal perception of too much change in too short a period of time. Too much change, not enough time to adjust. And so some of the effects of future shock include, well, a cluster of the effects would be called hurry sickness. And what happens when we have hurry sickness is that we have this feeling of exhaustion all the time. We always feel like we're in a rush to go somewhere. We're always busy. And you know, that's very North American of us to be always busy. You know, when you run into someone you haven't seen in a while and they say, how are you doing? And you say, oh, I'm so busy. You know, it's almost like a badge of courage, right? But hurry sickness comes with anxiety. It comes with depression and low motivation. It comes with feelings of overwhelm and the inability to make decisions because you're stuck in analysis paralysis. It comes with insomnia, stomach problems, heart disease, high blood pressure, all sorts of things are linked to hurry sickness. And then in a work environment, of course, we're going to see that as people who show up for work, they're present, but they're not present up here. They're present, but they're not engaged. You'll see an increase in absenteeism because people are physically sick more often and they're not able to come into work as regularly. So you're going to see challenges in attendance. And then you'll see poor performance and productivity. You'll see that the people are not getting as much work done as they would if they were full of energy. So before we get into the content, I would love to do a little poll. So I've got 4 questions, and Jenny's going to help me with this. So what trait do you think is most desirable in a leader? Would it be honesty, assertiveness, communication, fairness? What are the things when you are working with a leader? What are the things that really resonate for you? The second question is, what's your communication style? Is it directive? Is it contemplative? Is it sensitive? Or are you avoidant? Are you one of those people who says, you know what, if I just ignore it, it will go away by itself? Right? What's your style? Are you the type of person who thinks a lot about things before you make a decision? Are you highly sensitive to the needs of your team? Or are you more of the, I'm just going to tell you what to do and I need you to do it? The third question is, what's most important in a high performing team? So when you think about teams that work really, really well together, think of some of the Fortune 100 companies, you know, Disney or even White Oaks here locally in Niagara on the Lake is a Fortune 500 company. What do we think about when we think of what they bring in terms of their teams? Is it trust? Is it excitement? Is it commitment? Is it passion? What is it? And then finally, choose the statement that best describes your perception of leadership. And as we go through our presentation today, we're going to visit the polls and see what responses come in. So please pop your answers in there, and we will present those responses to you as we go. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to keep chattering while you complete your poll questions. So let's talk a little bit about future shock in the real world. So 2019, the waters were calm. Everything was looking good. We were moving into a new year and everybody and their dog was talking about having 2020 vision. And we were all excited about what 2020 was going to bring. And it felt like we were just going to coast into the new year. And then 2020 came, and then we had wildfires in Australia, and we had COVID-19 and we had murder hornets and, and it just kept getting worse. It was like, just when we think that we've seen all we can see in 1 year, then something else would happen. And it just, and then lockdowns and then we'd reopen and then we'd lock down again. And there's this back and forth, like this whiplash in terms of the things that were happening and trying to shift with the changes. People had to adjust from working in the office to working from home. There was so much going on. And it feels like a whitewater rafting ride, but one that's kind of out of control. And so, we got into 2021. And I think for the first 3 months of 2021, I was like, welcome to month 14 of 2020. It didn't feel like we had adjusted at all. And so it feels like things are changing so fast, right? It's really difficult to adjust. And it's not like it's just one thing that's changing. There are a whole bunch of things that are changing at the same time. And that makes it even more difficult to adjust. So future shock is a very real thing right now. I believe it, particularly now that we have reopened a little bit. And there are more cars on the road, there are more people in the stores, their restaurants are reopening, all these sorts of things. And we're adjusting again. We got used to things being quiet. We got used to not seeing a whole lot of people out and about. And now we're adjusting again. And so as we look at the rapid change that we're experiencing, I think it's important to apply some of the rules that make whitewater rafting successful. Because listen, whitewater rafting would not be a successful industry if people were just terrified and anxious through the whole ordeal, right? But whitewater rafting companies have found a way to make it fun. If we go back to the previous slide and you look at the slide in 2020 and beyond, everybody's laughing. They're not, nobody is screaming out of sheer terror. They're actually enjoying the ride. So this is the goal that we have in terms of leadership, is helping the people who are following us, helping the people that are under our care to feel like they can enjoy this ride, even though there's lots of rapid change. So the 10 rules very quickly for whitewater rafting success are this. Number 1, wear your personal flotation device. Come prepared, right? If you fall overboard, you want to be prepared for that. They want to be able to get you back. Number 2, stay on board. That makes sense, right? You want to stay in the raft. So what this means leadership-wise is you want to stay with the team. You want to work with the team. The third is keep your eyes on the objective. If you focus on what's here right now, you can get stuck in analysis paralysis, fear, and anxiety, because right now the water may be swirling around and everything is chaos, it's confusion, and you don't know what to do. But if you keep your eyes downriver on the objective, then it's easier for you to attain that objective. Number 4 is know your survival plan. As a team, as a leader, you need to know what your contingencies are for when things go south. So you need to have a survival plan. And number 5, come prepared. Come prepared. Number 6, fine-tune your listening skills. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more as we go forward. But as a leader and as a person who's part of a team, you must fine-tune your listening skills. Whitewater rafting guides don't have time to tell you 3 times where your paddle needs to go or how to lean or how to shift. You've got to be listening closely so that when they offer that command one time, you're ready to hear it and respond. So you've got to fine-tune your listening skills if you want to adapt quickly in scenarios where there's rapid change. Number 7, work together. Work together if you want to survive. And this is really important. As a leader, this is one of our greatest challenges, is getting our teams to work together, to work cohesively. And when they're able to do that and to do it in a healthy way, that's when they start having fun. Number 8, laugh a lot. It can't be serious all the time. There's got to be moments of levity, because that humor helps you to cope with the stress of the rapid change. Number 9 is to fuel up, to make sure that you've eaten the right kinds of foods, that you have fed your body, fed your mind the things that it needs so that you can be a high performer. And number 10 is to trust your guide. And I'm sure that everyone listening or watching today has had a scenario or been involved in a scenario in which you did not trust the person who was leading the process, and it makes it hard to move forward with them. So trusting the guide, trusting the leader is super important. And as a leader, you need to know how to engender that trust. So if you haven't found out yet, you are the guide, and your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to establish and maintain the trust of the people you are leading. The other thing that's really important is to inspire passion. Like, I'm one of those people who I'm scared of deep water. I'm scared of heights. But if the right person were to take me whitewater rafting, I would do it. If they inspired enough passion in me, if I trusted them enough, I would go with them. If someone said, let's go do the Ywca at the CN Tower, and I really trusted that person, and the people who were facilitating that adventure had done what they needed to do to make me feel okay about the exercise, I would do it. So trust and passion, super important. It is important to communicate to the team to help them prepare for what's coming. Communication is key. And so if the team doesn't know what's coming, or they can't anticipate what might be coming, there's going to be more anxiety, more hurry sickness, more absenteeism, more presenteeism, less performing. So communication is key to prepare them. You want to ensure that they're fit for the journey. Make sure that they have the tools that they need, the food that they need, whether that is, actual literal food, or perhaps it is the mental food, the training, the information that they need so that they can do this journey with you. Your responsibility is also to keep everyone safe. And you want to give instructions clearly in a way that is inspiring and motivating. Excuse me. Lastly, you want to cultivate a fun environment. Hey, if we're all going to be together on this journey, why not make it fun? Why not? So before we go into the loving leadership model, I'm going to stop my share for a moment, and I'm going to pull up the first response to our poll. What trait is most desirable in a leader? So we just went through some things on my list, and let's see what you all had to say about it. So here's the responses that we had. Oh, surprise! Clear communication was by far the winner. We had honesty, came up pretty high. Assertiveness was the lowest. Fairness at 10%, but 65% of respondents said that clear communication was the most desirable trait in a leader. And that makes sense, doesn't it? Because if we don't know what's happening, if we don't know how to do something, if we haven't been well trained, if we don't know how to answer the phone, if we don't know how to communicate with customers, if the leader's form of communication is to give you a very vague, poorly written memo and expect you to figure it out for yourself, and then they walk away and they're not available, they don't have an open door, that's going to create a very frustrating work environment, won't it? So clear communication is absolutely key. Absolutely key. Oh, I have a bajillion tabs open here. I got to try and get back to my presentation. Weird. There we are. Okay. Sorry, guys. What I am tech. Oh my goodness. I'm technologically challenged today. Here we go. Okay, and it's still sharing the, okay, that's why. All right, are you guys still seeing my, the poll? I think the tech is gone a little wonky. A black screen, okay. This is bizarre. Okay, every time I go to share, it keeps bringing up the poll. So I'm not sure what to do about that. Let me just do a new share. How about that? Oh, but I can't get the proper, there it is. That's the one I want. Okay, so can you see it now? Yes, awesome. Terrific, thank you. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's move on. So let me introduce to you the loving leadership model. So if you look on the left of your screen, you'll see a gray triangle with purple squares. And so this is a model that was developed by psychologist Robert Sternberg, and he calls it the Triarchic theory of love. And this is something I use in my practice all the time. And what he says is that there are three components to having a consummate love. So that area on the inside of the triangle is what we call the sweet spot, and that is having a consummate love, which is a blend of intimacy, commitment, and passion. And so intimacy is about liking someone, about feeling like you have a connection with them. That sense that we have things in common and that we can be friends, and that there's a certain measure of trust in that relationship that makes it easy for me to be with you. That's intimacy. And then passion is more, in terms of romantic love, passion would be the physical aspects of things, that attraction, if you will. And then commitment is what makes the relationship lasting. It is that spiritual connection. So you have the emotional connection, you have the physical connection, and you have the spiritual, or the mind, body, and the spirit pulling together and creating a consummate love. Well, in the work environment, what we have is something very similar. That intimacy is the benchmark of having a good relationship with the people that you lead or with your peers. So if you want to be an effective leader, the people who are working with you need to like you. They need to trust you. And it's not about, doing things what's the word? Catering to people so that you'll get points, right? It's about having a genuine approach to people, that you connect with them on a real level. So that liking, that trusting, they need to feel that you're knowledgeable, that you're capable. So you need to be able to demonstrate that to them so that they can trust the decisions that you're making. They need to feel safe with you. I don't know about you, but I've worked in some places where I did not feel safe with my employer, or with the people who were leading my teams, because they were critical. They were super critical. They did not share information that was relevant or important, the stuff we needed to do our jobs. They held back. They would hold impromptu meetings and yell and scream at the staff. And then in the next moment, they would be saying, oh, but I need you to do A, B, and C. And it's like, okay, but you just screamed at me for an hour, so now I don't want to do anything for you, right? And so the way that they approached their communication was very toxic. It made it difficult for us to like them and to trust them. And here's the thing, when you don't like or trust someone, it's really hard to be passionate with them, right? In a love relationship, if I don't like you and I don't trust you and I don't feel safe with you, I'm certainly not going to want to have any kind of sexual intimacy with you, right? Because I don't feel safe with you. Likewise, in a work environment, if I don't feel safe with my employer, I'm not going to be passionate about the job. I'm not going to want to go out of my way to do things to make this company successful, because this company isn't doing anything for me. They're not inspiring me to be passionate. Do you see how that works? And there are two kinds of passion. And there's the harmonious passion, which is what we're going for. We want people to feel excited and energetic and thrilled about coming to work and doing whatever it is that they're going to be doing. We don't want them to hate their job with a passion. Obsessive passion is where we get caught up in things, and it creates anxiety because we feel like we have to. Like I would rather wake up feeling like I get to go to work than wake up feeling like I have to go to work. Have to feels like there's a gun to my head saying you have to go and do this. You're being forced. Whereas when you choose to go, that is inspiring, that harmonious passion. And then finally, commitment. Is the team committed to working together through the crisis, whatever that crisis may be, whether it's shutting down or reopening or, putting in new safety protocols, whatever it might be? Are they committed to working together through the crisis and beyond? And I'll tell you what, when the team likes each other, they trust each other, when they feel safe with each other, when they're passionate about the mission and the vision of the company, they will be committed to working together. So that is the loving leadership taxonomy in a nutshell. And let me just talk briefly about what happens when you can't find the sweet spot, when you don't have connectivity between all of those three parts. So if there's lack of trust, that leads to insecure relationships and feeling unsafe in the workplace. Then passion dies, or it at least declines. The other thing that could happen is that passion becomes obsessive rather than harmonious. Then people start hating their job or hating their boss or hating their coworkers, and they do that with a passion. And when passion is applied to that dislike, you're going to have lots of conflict in the workplace. And then commitment is eroded, and engagement and productivity and profitability all start to decline. And so while we might say that, you know, my job is not about making people feel good, it actually is. It is about engendering that trust and building secure relationships so that commitment is strong and your team remains engaged and productive and profitable. So let's go. I'm scared to do this. I'm going to stop the share for a moment, and we're going to go to our next poll response. And that is, what is your communication style? Actually, I think we'll do two questions if we can. Sure. Oh, okay. So we have a few that are directive. Let me just move my thing over here. So we got 17% directive, 37% thinkers, 47% feeling, and 0% avoidant. That's awesome. So what's interesting about your communication styles is that what you're going to want to do for each of you in these three categories is you're going to want to try to adapt to some of the other communication styles. If you want to be well-rounded and engender that trust, like I said, it's not about doing things sort of superficially to build trust. It's about adapting your communication style. So I think it's kind of cool that 47% of you are the feeling sensitive types, because those types, if you look at true colors, you're blue. And so the blues are most easily able to adapt to other communication styles. So sometimes we need to be directive. Sometimes we need to step back and we need to think about things. We need to contemplate. We need to be very careful about how we move forward with decision making. But then it's also important that we are sensitive to the needs of others and the emotions of others, so that we make sure that our communication style doesn't erode trust, but rather it builds it. So that is super cool. And then the next question that we asked were, what were the three things, or which of these three things are most important in a high-performing team? And what we came up with was 52% said trust and camaraderie, and then 35% said passion and excitement. And you guys got it exactly right, because if the trust and the safety is there, passion comes, it comes with the package. So as you build trust and safety, passion for the job and the responsibilities of the job increase, and commitment is a natural flow from that. Wonderful. So this slide here, I just touch on it very briefly, says that 50% of our teams are not committed. So even though everybody in this picture looks engaged, 50% of every team is not actually committed. They are not engaged in their work. And so what that means for us as leaders is that we have to find ways to ensure that those people get engaged and they're committed and they're passionate about what they're doing. So very quickly, let me share with you some strategies. My thought matrix is something that I use to help put a framework around all of this. This basically says that thoughts inform our feelings. Our feelings inform our choices, which then inform our actions, and our actions generate the outcomes that we receive. So what happens when we're thinking anxious, sad, depressed, frustrated, agitated thoughts is they're uncomfortable, right? They don't feel good. And so what we want to do is we want to fix that feeling. And what we tend to do is we bypass the thinking about our outcomes, and we just make choices that are designed to help fix the feeling. So for example, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling depressed. So I'm going to go and I'm going to drown myself in a bottle of wine. I'm going to suck back a bottle of wine and I'm going to forget about how I'm feeling right now. And that's all great, except for that now your outcome is that you have a hangover and the problem that made you upset in the first place is still there, right? So it's a quick fix, but it doesn't solve the problem. But if we think about what our desired outcomes are, so if I say, okay, I'm feeling really anxious in this moment, how would I like to feel? And I think about the outcome, and then I think about the choices and actions that can get me to that outcome that actually help to solve the problem that created the feeling in the first place. Now I'm doing things in a little different way. And so I encourage leaders to use this thought matrix as they're problem solving with their teams, because very often leaders will go for the quick fix, but they don't realize that it's creating problems for them down the road when they move forward. And so just, I think you guys are going to be able to get copies of these slides. So remember this thought matrix. And when we get to the end, maybe Jenny, if you could just remind me to talk about the free ebook that people can download from my website where they can learn more about the thought matrix. So the second thing, this builds on the idea of choosing the desired outcome, is this cognitive appraisal and self-evaluation to ask yourself whenever you find yourself in crisis, whenever you find your team in crisis, what's going on here? What's happening? What does this mean? What does it mean for the team? What does it mean for me? What does it mean for the organization? How do I feel about it? And how would I like this to be resolved? Always looking to my desired outcome. What can we do to get that desired outcome? And what's the best thing that can happen if we choose this action? What's the worst thing that can happen if we choose this action? And lastly, what is the lifetime value of this event? That's so important to think about. How is this event going to impact this team, this organization, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road? Let's think about those long-term outcomes. Another terrific tool that I love, and you'll see this in the ebook that I'm going to offer you as well, is changing your thoughts by using power questions. Power questions presuppose a positive outcome, which means that you ask a question in such a way that you always get an answer that projects you into action. So instead of asking, I'll just use a simple example, why am I so fat? That's a bad question. You ask yourself, why am I so fat? Your brain will give you answers, but you won't like those answers. You know, I'm fat because I eat too much chocolate, because I don't exercise enough, because I have a poor metabolism, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'll come up with all kinds of answers and they won't help me come up with a solution. But if I ask myself, how can I lose weight and enjoy the process? Now my brain goes, oh, I can lose weight and have fun while I do it. And now it's going to start coming up with ways in which you can do that. So shifting your questions so that they presuppose that you will get the outcome you desire. This is a terrific mind hack, and it works every single time. Another great leadership strategy is simple. It's listening. So this tool of demonstrating understanding has 4 parts. Number 1, you reflect thoughts. So when someone says, oh, I'm feeling this way, and say, okay, it sounds like you're thinking A, B, and C, right? Reflecting feeling is very similar. Sounds like you're feeling a certain kind of way. Reflecting thought and feeling together means that I'm paying very close attention. So I'm hearing what you're thinking, but I'm also noticing what you're feeling about the thoughts you're having. And I'm going to reflect that back to the person I'm talking to. And lastly, I'm going to reflect personal meaning, which is, you know, I hear what you're thinking, I notice your feelings, and I understand that you're feeling this way because of what it means to you. This is such a simple tool, but it is so powerful. I have seen broken relationships, broken marriages come back together simply because one partner decided, I'm going to listen and I'm going to use this strategy. So remember this: reflecting thought, reflecting feeling, reflecting thoughts and feelings, reflecting personal meaning. It is a terrific way to engender trust and safety with your teams. Another strategy is this: transparency. So important. You know, the things that they teach us in customer service training, these are important skills to transfer to when we are talking with our teams and working with our teams. If you don't have the answer, say so. It's okay. It's okay to say, I don't know. but I'll find out, right? Be an active participant in the process of change. Don't just direct the change, be a part of the change. Share your hopes for the future, whether it's, not necessarily your personal hopes, but your hopes for the team, your hopes for the company, your hopes for the organization. Share your hopes. This is where I hope we will end up when this is all over. And lastly, don't wax over the cracks. And this refers to the root word sincera that forms the word that we use sincere. And sincera means without wax. And that's because in ancient times when people were selling pottery, if something had a crack in it, they would wax it over and they'd smooth it down so that the wax so that the cracks didn't show. And it wasn't until you got home and put something hot in there and melted the wax away that you'd realize that the pottery had a crack in it. So it's really saying is don't be fake. Don't be fake. Don't wax over the cracks. Just be your true self. Be honest with your people. Lastly, encourage people. Catch them doing things right. Acknowledge and reward that passion and bear witness to the difficulty of the times that we're working in. Like, it's hard right now, with COVID and the protocols and the passports and, people that don't want to be vaxxed and people who think that you should be. And there's all of this opinion that's rolling around, and people are trying to work together and still get their jobs done when they have all this external pressure. So it's good to check in with people, take action to support people who are struggling, and do what you can to build rather than erode the trust. Encourage people. So how do we make it downstream to avoid the ill effects of future shock? Number one, we apply the principles of loving leadership. We develop a solid survival plan, and we clearly communicate that plan. We work as a team. We build a sense of trust and safety. We stoke the flames of passion, which will increase that commitment and that engagement, and make sure that you are always demonstrating understanding and caring for your team. So I'm going to share one last thing, if I can get to it, and then I will be done. I'm sorry. Oh no, we got them all, didn't we? We did do them all. I apologize. I thought we had one left. And so again, to make it downstream, we want to apply those principles, and we want to put into action some of these tools that we provided today. And if you would like to know more about loving leadership, this principle is written about in a book that was published earlier this year with Executive Coach Global. It's called Leadership Aim. You can find that book on Amazon, on Kobo, and anywhere else ebooks are sold. You can also get it in print through Amazon if you prefer the print version, or if you want a signed copy, you can go to leverageu.ca and you can purchase it from my store, and I can send you a signed copy. And so if you would like a copy of the free ebook that I was talking about, this ebook is called Radical Positive Lasting Change. And when you go to my website, angersolution.com, you'll see a pop-up there, I believe, that will, or one of the landing pages has a link that you can go and you can download that free ebook. And in Radical Positive Lasting Change, you'll get loads of information about the thought matrix and the choice matrix, which I didn't talk about today, but also about power questions and all the variety of tools that will help you make clearer decisions, communicate more clearly, and help you begin that process of building more trust and safety with the teams that you lead. So thank you so much for listening and for being a part of this workshop today.